ask him, what's the definition of a snitch?
In this case, the definition, who rats out people that they were tight with, rats them out to law enforcement.
What's loyalty to you, Charles?
Loyalty would be that you don't snitch on the people closest to on your friends.
If another TMZ staff member kidnaps you, is that loyal to you? You're working right now. If Harvey's stealing all of the money that you're making right now and gives you crumbs of it, but is taking majority of the money, is that loyal to you? These are my people. Like, how many people I beefed with in 2018? I beefed with the whole West Coast. I beefed with the Houston. I beefed with Chicago. Did I ever get kidnapped by Chicago or Texas or West Coast? Did I ever get kidnapped by them, or I got kidnapped by my own people? What I did, it wasn't snitching. What I did was being smart and realize that God put me there to cut my grass so I could see the snakes in my grass.
In the history of hip-hop, there have been a lot of controversial figures. Rappers who lied about their backgrounds, rappers who exaggerated their street credentials, rappers who built entire careers on personas that had nothing to do with who they actually were. But there has never been anyone quite like Tekashi 6ix9ine. Because 6ix9ine didn't just lie about being a gangster, he actually became one. He ran with one of the most dangerous gangs in New York City. He was present at shootings. He ordered hits. He watched people get robbed and kidnapped. He was in the middle of all of it. And then, when federal agents came knocking, he told them everything. Every name, every crime, every secret, in open court, on camera, in front of the whole world. And then he walked out of prison 2 years early. This is the story of how Daniel Hernandez, the man the world knows as Tekashi 6ix9ine, snitched his way out of federal prison and became the most hated man in hip-hop in the process.
You think the internet can destroy a nigga though?
Hell yeah. Let the wrong narrative get to going about you.
What about the niggas who fight through them narratives though? Cause you got some niggas that fight through them narratives.
Them niggas still ain't getting no money like that, like they was. Like the rap boy.
Who?
We been wearing lace fronts and shit.
Who that?
The nigga who told in New York, man. Who told all them niggas in New York. The Mexican.
Oh, you say he...
The internet took his shit down.
I think he just stopped.
Nah, cause he can't go. Ain't no gas in the car, nigga. What you mean? He just stopped.
Nigga, he was on top of the world before that shit.
I think he was the first snitch that like went viral and shit. Bro, I ain't even trying to be funny.
Yes, you is, bro.
I'm talking about, no, nigga, I'm talking about as an artist, bro. I'm talking about as an artist, as a lit rapper. He was the first rapper that, in the internet era, snitched, bro. And it was public as hell. And he got out. He tried to still act like I snitched, so what?
6ix9ine is like gonna be testifying against some of his co-defendants. What are your thoughts on the whole snitching shit and what's going on with 6ix9ine?
I don't know, and I ain't trying to. You might put Meta in some shit. I ain't got time for it. I just got out.
He said, I don't want to be. I don't want my name in none of that shit.
Know what that boy
you never know.
That shit, they're crazy. Fuck. Damn. Damn.
I don't give no fuck about the nigga 6ix9ine, I don't know him. But he told them all type of people, gang, and they people locked up and shit. I know it's people like he probably ain't did shit to him. And he told on them and shit like, you know. For them, they thought like, there's some people I know, everybody ain't did nothing to 6ix9ine, you see what I'm saying? So whoever did, cause y'all be saying, like, they fucked his baby mama, ooh. Alright, that's one nigga, gang. Okay, that nigga told them all type of niggas. Yeah, that only justify even then niggas fucking his baby mama all day, every day. That shit don't. Damn, man, who gonna take care of the kids? Who gonna take care of, you know, these grown men? You know, they provide for them, even though they probably ain't getting their money the right way. Who gonna take care of these people?
Before we get into the snitching, we need to understand who this man actually is, because his origin story is genuinely strange. Daniel Hernandez was born in Bushwick, Brooklyn in 1996. His childhood was rough. His father was murdered when he was 13 years old. He dropped out of school in 8th grade. By his teenage years, he was bagging groceries and working odd jobs to help support his family. He had no real music background, no rap training, no industry connections. What he had was the internet, a face full of tattoos, rainbow-colored hair, and an instinct for chaos that turned out to be worth millions of dollars. He blew up in 2017 with a song called Gummo. The video had a raw, unpolished energy that felt genuinely dangerous. The song went viral. Overnight, he went from a nobody in Brooklyn to one of the most talked-about rappers in the country. But here's the thing about 6ix9ine that people forget. He didn't just pretend to be connected to the streets for marketing purposes. He actually embedded himself in a real gang, the Nine Trey Gangster Bloods, one of the most active blood sets in New York City. And that decision would define everything that came after. Chapter 2: The Nine Trey Gangster Bloods. The Nine Trey Gangster Bloods are not a rap beef. They are not a social media clique. They are a real criminal organization with a long history of violence, drug distribution, and federal prosecutions in New York. 6ix9ine didn't just loosely associate with them. He became an official member. He paid dues. He attended meetings. He was present at crimes. He funded operations. In return, they provided him with security, street credibility, and the real-life danger that made his music feel authentic. For a while, it worked perfectly. His videos featured real gang members. His beef with other rappers had real backing. When he talked about being untouchable on wax, there were actual armed men standing behind him. But the problem with aligning yourself with a real criminal organization is that real criminal organizations. In April 2019, 6ix9ine signed a cooperation agreement with federal prosecutors. Under the terms of the deal, he agreed to plead guilty to 9 federal charges. In exchange, prosecutors agreed to file a motion on his behalf at sentencing, asking the judge to reduce his sentence based on the level and quality of his cooperation. The key word there is quality. The government doesn't just want names, they want convictions. They want testimony that holds up in court. They want someone who will sit on that witness stand, look the defendants in the eye, and tell the truth about every crime they committed together. 6ix9ine was willing to do all of that. What followed was one of the most extensive debriefing processes in recent hip-hop history. He sat with federal investigators for hours at a time. He walked them through years of criminal activity. He named names, dates, locations, and specific crimes. He told them about shootings, about robberies, about drug deals, about who gave orders and who carried them out, about internal gang disputes and power struggles, about crimes that the government didn't even know had happened yet. He became, by all accounts, an extraordinarily valuable cooperating witness. Chapter 5: The Testimony. In September 2019, Tekashi 6ix9ine took the witness stand in open court for the trial of 2 Nine Trey Gangster Bloods members, Anthony, Harv Ellison and Aljamiah, Nuke, Mac. What happened over the next several days was unlike anything hip-hop had ever seen. He sat in that courtroom and told everything, not in vague terms, not with careful legal language designed to protect himself. He was specific, detailed, and ruthless in his testimony. He testified about the shooting of Chief Keef's associate in Times Square in 2018. He testified about the robbery and kidnapping of a rival in which he himself was a victim, committed by members of his own gang who had turned on him. He testified about drug operations, about weapons, about the inner workings of Nine Trey's criminal enterprise. He named names openly. Cardi B came up in testimony, though she was not charged with anything and denied the most serious allegations.
Alex Hewitt asked you knew Cardi B was a Blood. You said correct.
Listen, look at me, Vlad. Vlad, look at me. You said you said the prosecutors?
Alex Hewitt.
The prosecutors?
That's defense attorney Alex Hewitt.
All right, so
that's either Harv or Nuke's defense attorney.
Okay, so
right?
Who brought up Cardi B?
The defense attorney.
Defense attorney. Did I bring him on and say, yo, listen, let me tell on Cardi B, let me tell on Jim Jones. Who brought up their names?
Well, you could have also said, I don't know.
You can't say that. You're subpoenaed under the thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're under oath. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm under oath. Right there, they're getting acquittal and I go to jail.
Fellow rapper Jim Jones was named as an associate. Trippie Redd was mentioned. Various gang members who had been his closest allies were identified by name. Rank and criminal activity. The courtroom was packed. The testimony was carried live on social media. Hip-hop Twitter was losing its mind in real time. And through all of it, 6ix9ine sat there calmly and answered every question. Anthony Ellison and Aljamiah Mac were both convicted. Chapter 6: The SENTNCING. On December 18, 2019, Tekashi 6ix9ine appeared before Judge Paul Engelmayer for sentencing. The prosecution made good on their promise. They filed a substantial assistance motion, formally asking the judge to grant a significant reduction in his sentence based on the quality of his cooperation. They described his testimony as credible, detailed, and directly responsible for convictions. The judge agreed. Instead of the 32-year mandatory minimum he was originally facing, 6ix9ine was sentenced to 24 months in federal prison, with credit for time already served. He had been in custody since November 2018. By the time of sentencing, he had already served 13 months. That meant he had approximately 11 months left on his sentence. The street reacted exactly as you would expect. The word snitch was everywhere. Former allies publicly denounced him. Gang members who had once called him brother were now calling for consequences. His name became synonymous with betrayal in hip-hop culture. But 6ix9ine was not done surprising people. Chapter 7: The Early Release. In April 2020, with approximately 2 months left on his sentence, Tekashi 6ix9ine's legal team filed an emergency motion for compassionate release. The reason, COVID-19. His lawyers argued that his asthma made him particularly vulnerable to serious illness if he contracted the virus in prison. The Bureau of Prisons was dealing with outbreaks across multiple facilities. The judge, weighing the medical evidence and the circumstances, agreed. On April 2, 2020, Tekashi 6ix9ine was released from federal prison and placed on home confinement. He had been sentenced to 24 months. He served approximately 13 months behind bars before walking out the door. And then he did something that absolutely nobody expected. He went straight back to social media. Chapter 8: The Return. Within days of his release, 6ix9ine was back online taunting his enemies. He dropped new music. He went live on Instagram. He flexed his freedom in front of millions of followers. His first single after release, Goober, broke streaming records for a single-day debut at the time. The music video racked up tens of millions of views in hours. He was completely unbothered. And that unbothered energy made people even angrier than the snitching had, because at least if he had gone quiet and disappeared, there would have been a kind of dignity in that. Instead, he came back louder than ever, essentially daring anyone to do anything about it. The hip-hop community was divided. Some people said he was the worst thing to ever happen to rap culture. Others quietly admitted that his streams were massive, that people were clicking, that whatever else he was, he knew how to hold attention. The debate about snitching, street codes, and what hip-hop actually stands for raged for months. Chapter 9: The Aftermaths. In the years since his release, 6ix9ine's career has been a rollercoaster of viral moments, legal problems, and fading relevance. He has been assaulted multiple times. He was beaten badly in a gym in Florida in 2023. He has had ongoing legal issues, including violations of his supervised release conditions. His streaming numbers have declined significantly from their peak. The men he testified against are serving long federal sentences. The gang that once provided him protection wants nothing to do with him. And hip-hop, for the most part, has moved on without him. But here is what is undeniable. Tekashi 6ix9ine faced 32 years in federal prison and served 13 months. He calculated his options, made a decision, and executed that decision completely. Whether you respect that or despise it, you cannot argue with the math. 32 years became 13 months. That is the most efficient exit from a federal case in recent memory. Chapter 10: The Real Question. Here is the thing that nobody in hip-hop wants to say out loud. The street code that calls snitching the worst possible thing a person can do was built in an era before federal RICO cases, before wiretaps were routine, before the government had the tools it now has to dismantle criminal organizations from the inside. In the modern federal system, cooperation is the only realistic path out of a mandatory minimum sentence for most defendants. The people who refuse to cooperate, the people who take the code seriously and go to trial, often end up spending decades in prison, while the people who cooperated walk out in months or years. 6ix9ine understood that calculus better than anyone gave him credit for. He was never really a gangster. He was a kid from Brooklyn who found a way to make money and got in over his head. When the moment of truth came, he did what most people, if they are being honest with themselves, would do when facing 32 years in a federal prison at 22 years old. He chose himself. Whether that makes him a coward or a survivor depends entirely on who you ask. But he is out, and most of the people who called him a snitch are not. That's the story of how Tekashi 6ix9ine snitched his way out of prison. If you made it this far, drop a comment. Do you think he made the right call, or is the street code bigger than any prison sentence? Let me know below.